So let's have a look at what we can do in the editor. So I've created this canvas, which is 500 by 500. If I want to change that, I can obviously change that up here. I can lock the ratio if I want. If I do now 1000 here, it'll do 1000 there, right? So if you unlock it, and I'll do 500 here, then it won't change. You can see that. So I want to have it locked. I want to have it 500 by 500. And there's where you can apply. You can do it in centimeters, millimeters, inches, whatever you'd like. I'd like to work with pixels in here, so I've chosen pixels here. When it comes to centimeters, is really when you are looking for physical banners, right? So or inches in that case, depending on where you live. Okay, so let's look at the menu options that we have here. The moment that you want to create an image here, the first thing that you'd want to do is putting in the background. So that's why the editor opens in the background menu. There is where you can choose color, gradient, or pattern. Now, when you look at the color, you can do a solid color like this, or you can do a gradient color in the gradient column. There are a couple of preset colors there. So for example, if you want to do that, then you can click a preset. What you can also do is customize this. So if it's not in the color set that you wanted to have, then you just click the what's it called, customize button, and you can choose whether this gradient is going to be linear or radial. It's currently radial. It goes from outside to in, right? You can also change where, especially when you do it linear, if I apply that, you can see it goes from left to right or right to left. If you want to change the direction, you can do that too. You can see it's changing the direction. If you want to change the colors here, just click here, the color. Let me just use some funky colors here. So let's say we do green to blue, and we want to do it from left to right, then you can see that here. It's that easy. Now if you want to do that radial, that's fine as well, and then you can see that here, right? So let's X out here. You can also do a pattern. You can see the preset patterns here, patterns here. So let's say I want to use this one, or I want to see different patterns. I just click randomize and it'll show me different patterns. If I choose the pattern that I'd like, you just click on the pattern. If you even want to customize the pattern that you've chosen, then you can do that here. You can change all these colors by clicking on the color and say, okay, I want this color actually a little bit darker. Then that's going to be like this. You generate it, and it'll take that color into consideration in the pattern there. Now the variance, if you up the variance, you can see that the pattern will change up to your liking. If you want to change up the variance, then there we go, right? If you don't like the first variance, you can take this variance. So you can play around with that. If for any reasons you don't want to use these, you can obviously import a background yourself. So you can go up here where are all your menu options, and you can go import your graphic here, and then import from here. Let me see if I got a background here. Don't have a background here, so let me upload it. So these are the images that I've already uploaded. Let me go up here and select an image, which is a background image. Here we go. It'll load it into this folder, and you'll select it here. So this is the image I've downloaded from the web. I like this image because it's got a kind of a pattern image, and it has a gradient. So I'll use this, and that's how I drag into the canvas the background. So the first step that we've done is the background. Now the next step that we want to do is we want to populate the canvas with, you know, more text and more images, right? So when we do that, we let's say we first want to drag in some more images. We always go to this menu option, and then you select the browse, the import graphics. You go here, and then you can choose any image, or as you saw before, you can upload it from your computer. Now what you can see is that it still has selected the background when I imported this. So when I click on this, it's moving the background and not the image itself. Then it's very important that you go to the layer section on the left. On the layer section, you can choose which image you want to select. So in this case, it's the background. In this case, it's Kimberly here, right? So now I've selected Kimberly. I put Kimberly down here, and then I can resize her. Now there are two ways to resize it. One is freehand. Now that's distorted, obviously. When I go back and I keep the shift button clicked, then you can see that it keeps the dimension here. Okay, so always when you resize, just use the shift button if it's required. I didn't do that with the background because that's not really required there. So let's keep her here, and then we'll add another image. Let's see, we want to drag this image in. So for example, if we want to do a project, a discount for this package. Now I double clicked the image, therefore I can see it twice here. Don't want to have it twice, I just want to have it one time. And you can see now at this moment it's in front of Kimberly. Now there are a couple of ways to change that. One is you click on the layer, you see that this image is clicked, and I drag it to the position I want it. So that's one option. The other option is to right click on the image. You see a couple of things that come up. You can clone, you can toggle on and off, you can delete it, you can rename the image. You can save it to a folder, which is important if you want to do certain designs more often. You want to drag that from a folder. The folder is down here. Let's say if I want to save it here, I have to check which folder I want to add. And you can flip it horizontally, vertically, but here is where the arrange is. You can bring it to the front. There we go, to the front, and we can bring it to, one back, because we want to have it behind Kimberly and not all the way to the back, because then it will be in the back of this background. That's not what we want. So that's where we will put it. So what's next? Let me go through what the elements are in here. Now, I don't want to really use the effects here. You can obviously check what these effects are, but I won't use it in this image because I'm not, I might use it with the discount coupon, but not as yet. We've covered the layers. So for the static images, or emojis, you can select one of the emojis here. These are not animated. Obviously, you can animate these emojis later on, but not in the way that you can see it here, right? The clapping, you can't animate the clapping with the static image. You can move images around with animation there. So pick your option whether you want to have it static or animated. We covered the backgrounds. We obviously want to put in some text. So let's put in some text. Once you click on it, especially when you've got a dark background, it does appear, but it appears in black. Now let me select that text layer. You can see it all the way up here. And let me change the appearance on the right side. Okay, so you change on the right, and you create on the left. If you want to change that, you double click on the text and say special offer, and we apply. Okay, so that's easy to edit the text. We got buttons that we can add. Let's say I want to add a button like here, put it down here. If I want to resize it, I can do that too. Here we go. And I've got more images to add. So if let's say I want to have a, I don't know, let's say it's a discount. See what pops up. So you can see that the images are up here, and if I select one, it just adds it. So if I want to show an image down here, so here we go. Let me just resize it a little bit. Then I can do that, right? I can change position. And there we go. So you can pull in images that just like that, click on it, drag it to your canvas, and you've got it there. On your shapes, same process. Choose your shape that you'd like. In this case, I want to have this shape. I may put it up here. It's dark, so let me just change the appearance so that we see it better. There we go. And then I want to resize it. And I want to resize it like it's squared, right? So there we go. So we can put some text in here in order to show the discount. Now the folders I talked to you about here is the sets of images that you've created there if you want to pull that in a separate folder. So let's say this is the Kimberly folder. Okay, and then if I want to have a set of Kimberly in various poses, I just right click and I save it to the folder, in this case Kimberly. Okay, if I want to drag it or pull it from there, then there is where I can pull it from, in the folders. It's that easy. So that's what you can do from the left side of the menu. Now let's have a look at the right side of the editor, right? Which is whenever you select a element in here, you can see that this changes because per element you have different options in terms of properties and appearances. In this case, I'm selecting the text property. Therefore, down here is where you can select a font. So if I want to change the font, a Montserrat font, I select the variant. Let's say we want to have it bold. Then that's what changes this element. If I want to do line spacing, word spacing, all of that, you can do that here. Also on the right, you can do the arrangement. So if you want to move it to the back or to the front, you can do that here as well. You can change the opacity. So there's where you can see it's getting lighter. And here it's in full. You can rotate it like here. You can also rotate it here, a bit more accurate with doing degrees. And what you can do here is align. So if you have multiple items that you want to align, then you can do that. If you right click, you can see that you're selecting certain stuff, right? So, and if you do, you can also align that, right? So that's what you can do here with the alignment options. If you want to have a certain dimension done manually, in this case I'm selecting the background, I can do that here, also with the position, and I can show it or I cannot show it. I can copy it here, I can toggle it, lock it. In this case, then I cannot move it anymore. Okay, which for a background in this case, I would prefer that. And then let's go back to the text. In the appearance, you can do a different type of color or even a gradient. But what you can also do, if you click on the background button, or at least the plus sign on the background, you can see multiple options here, which is, you know, if you want to add a shadow, you can do that here. If you want to change the shadow a little bit, at least the color of the shadow, then you can do that there. And you can do a little bit of the spread. So that's what it will do with that element. If I want to add a blur, I can do that too. There's where the blur is, right? If you double click it, you can see that it's going to be blurry. And all the other options. Just play with those options and you'll see what happens with the element that you change. So that's the right side of the menu. Now if you want to resize this, obviously you can do that. Again, use the shift button in order to keep the proportions. And then when you're done with this, the next thing would be animating your image. So let's start with animation now. We've pulled in the different elements from the right side. We've changed it from the we pulled it in. Okay, let's talk now about animating your image. So you've pulled in all elements from the left, you've changed your elements on the right, and then on the bottom is now where we want to animate all of these items, right? And some items you don't want to animate because you want to keep it still. So for example, we have this special offer, we want to have that animated. It's currently selected, so you can see that with the red button here. You click on the plus sign and then you show or you select what transition or what effect you want to have there. So if I want to have a wheel there, then and I want to use the opacity, I apply it there. I can always see what happens if I move the yellow bar, right? There we go. Okay, and then where the next animation you want to move that in depends on where you have the yellow bar on the timeline down here. So for example, I want to have this come in from the left at this time. I click on the plus sign. I want to slide it in from the left, use opacity, and then you can see that it moves in from the left. Then if I want to have this discount pattern, I want to have it appear after that, then I select it there, I move the bar, and then I select, for example, a zoom effect. There we go. Now, let's have a look again. We've got the special offer, we got the tabs coming in from the left, and then we've got the discount coming in, right? If we want to move Kimberly in from the right, that could be done too. Slide from the right, and let's do it like this. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of animation. That's how you work this. Now, if you do not like the animation at that stage, then you can obviously click delete on these buttons. Okay, so one is you can play the animation. Certain animations, not a lot, but certain animations do not play when you go like this, but they play when you press the play button. One of the things is like the typewriter animation. If you want to, click this animation and you don't want this animation there, you just select that animation and you click on the clear, the trash can here, and then it takes it out. If you have got nothing selected and you click the trash can, then every animation that you've selected, that you've chosen, is going to disappear, so you can start from scratch. Okay, so that's very important. The other buttons here is one, you can record something through your webcam. You can make a picture through your webcam. Obviously, you can animate a certain element. You can also click here. You can insert a marker if you'd like to insert a marker on the timeline. You can move selected frames if you'd like to, and then you can do paste and copied frames. You can do a copy selected frames, and obviously the selection tool in here, right? So that's the animation part of the editor. Okay, so once you've animated your image and you're completely done, we click on Save Your Work. And then if we want to export this image into various formats, you click on the Export button here, which is the choices that you have is PNG image, which is a still image. Then you have the MP4 video. What it says, it's an MP4 video, so it's a video format. You can do a GIF animation. A GIF animation is basically a bunch of images quickly after another. And you can use GIFs, for example, in Facebook comments and Facebook posts. Depending whether it's a Facebook page, because I don't think it's available in Facebook groups. So just check that out. You got frames if you want to do that. If you just have a couple of frames, I would choose that. Because then you can select the image that you prefer in the animation. A PDF document and HTML5 code. This is particularly when you create a web banner, then HTML5 code is probably the way to go. The other option is the embed code, and we'll talk about that in a separate tutorial. So on the next to the export function, you have the light mode. If you want to go from dark to light, if that's what you prefer, then you can do that there. If you want to move back, just click it there. You can log out of the application here. And then if you want to have any of your images on your Dropbox folder so that you can show your images to your client using the Dropbox link, you click on the Dropbox icon. You connect your account, which will open up a box. If you're already in your Dropbox account, which currently I am, it already connects your account. And then you can sync it. What it does say is that activate on export. That means when activated, which is currently at the moment, it is there. Local downloads is intercepted, so you won't find a download here. So if you do a image export, then it will go to your Dropbox folder and not to your download folder. So that's basically the reason why that message is there. If you want to disconnect your account and do want to have it to your download folder, just disconnect it and then you can do the image. The other options that you have up here is you can go to full screen editing. So now you can see a full screen. When you're in editing mode, that might be handy. So let's go out of full screen. The other options is undo, redo. You can zoom in and zoom out the canvas. What you can also do, and these are basically views of your canvas, right? So you zoom in, zoom out. You can fit the screen, or you can do it actual size, which is 500 by 500. The configuration is to toggle on or off the privacy mode and the transform lock aspect. This button here is to show what actually shows on the image when you export it, because if, for example, this is moving to the left, obviously you don't see that. When editing, you may want to see outside of the canvas, right? So that's why the I button is the I icon is up here, so you can see what's actually inside the canvas. So we're done with the editor, and so let's have a look. We'll save our project and then we'll X out. And then when we X out, we can have a look at the other menu options.